Hey everybody, it is Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and I'm coming to you tonight, actually late night in the garage, because there's a couple things I want to talk about. One of them is I picked up some pistols today from my good friend Jack, and I'm going to show you what the upcoming projects are. That's always fun. I know some of you guys like that. But I want to come to you mainly to talk about something that I know is going to piss off some of my detractors and the people that don't like me. Because I was right. And I told you I was right. I don't know why, when I am right consistently over and over and over again, and people continually don't believe me. They say, Jason, you're wrong. You don't understand this. You're not a lawyer. What do you know? You're wrong. And then I always end up being right. So before I tell you about what happened in California in the Ninth Circuit, and I'm not happy about it, but I'm only happy because I knew what was going to happen and predicted it. And it even happened quicker than I thought it was. But let's go through this, because this is the same thing I tell my kids when I tell them over and over again what's going to happen. They're like, Dad, it's not going to happen. That's crazy. That's impossible. Then it happens. And then I come back and say, guys, let's repeat the saying that we go through every time this happens. And they go, okay, I know everything. So repeat that with me. I know everything. Because I do, okay? It's just this gift of foresight that I have. So, what happened? The Ninth Circuit has broken precedent, has put up a big middle finger to the Supreme Court and their rulings in Heller and in Bruin, and they are going to hear en banc the Roger Benitez case. I guess it's Duncan v. Bontes, the name of the case, which overturned California's high-capacity magazine ban. And I told you when this happened. Number one, Roger Benitez's ruling was absolutely brilliant. And the highlight of that ruling, which, by the way, I always read these rulings, and you guys need to do the same, just learn the way the law works. You don't have to be a lawyer to read opinions. You don't have to be it. You can learn a lot about firearms law from just reading opinions. You might not understand all the minutia, but you begin to get a greater understanding. But anyway, the best part of his decision was when California tried to claim that magazines are not covered under the Second Amendment, in the text of the Second Amendment, because they're accessories and not arms themselves, and that they're not integral to a firearm. And then Roger Benitez cites their own law in California, where they have the safe handgun roster. In order for a gun to be put on this roster, so it's for sale in California, it has to have all these different features. And one of those features is a magazine safety disconnect, which means if the magazine is not inserted, the gun won't fire. Therefore, the magazine is an integral part of the firearm and required for operation. Therefore, the state of California did not win on that and made absolutely no sense. It was absolutely brilliant. I had never thought about that before. I had never heard anybody else argue that before, but it was a brilliant analysis when he struck down that. And of course, he put a 10-day stay on his order because he already knew the state of California was going to elevate it and appeal it to the Ninth Circuit. And I told you guys they were going to go through the whole process. They were going to drag this out. And I said it was going to go to a 3-judge panel, and then it was going to be probably either overturned or upheld, it doesn't matter, and then it was going to go to an en banc, okay? Well, I guess if it was overturned, that was going to be it. But if the 3-judge panel upheld the ruling, it was going to go to an en banc, because we already know these justices, or judges actually in the Ninth Circuit, they're not justices, Supreme Court's justices, or the judges on the Supreme Court are justices. We already knew that they have already made their decision. There is no argument, there is no precedent, there is no Supreme Court edict that will make them change their mind and their ruling. And they will play word games. They will come up with clever ways of approaching it to make sure that they uphold gun control laws. And that's the way it is, because we live in a post-constitutional republic. The Constitution does not mean anything anymore, okay? It's like the unwritten Constitution of the United Kingdom. They don't have a constitution. They have history, tradition, and precedent, but that means they can break it at any time, and that's what they do. Same thing here. And so what they did is, on appeal, they elevated. They already said, we're not even going to let a 3-judge panel hear it. we're going to go ahead and go straight to en banc, which means a majority of the justices of the Ninth Circuit wanted to hear this case. Okay? So that means a majority of these judges already have made up their mind, and we already know they're going to overturn Judge Benitez's ruling, and they're going to keep the magazine ban in California going. We already know that, and I told you that's what's going to happen. And it's just amazing that they broke their own rules, because normally this would be dragged out with a 3-judge panel, then it would go to en banc, and it'd be years and years and years. They're just going right to en banc. Now, to the credit of some of the judges on the Ninth Circuit, they had a scathing dissent. And I'm going to put a link in the description below to one of my favorite firearms legal channels. I've talked about them before, 4 Boxes Diner, because he does not do the whole clickbait crap, okay? He just tells you as it is. He reads and cites the opinions and the dissents and the law. It's really good. He doesn't do clickbait stuff, okay? And he goes through these dissents. Absolutely awesome that he, presented this. And I think when you watch this video, you're going to get as upset as maybe I am in this, because I'm upset about this. But I already knew it was going to happen because I know everything. And I'm sorry for those people that watch my videos and say, Jason, their hands are tied. The Supreme Court's already said this in Heller and Bruin. They've already done this before. I know. I said, but we live in a post-constitutional republic. These judges will not be held accountable because they can't. They're lifetime appointments, okay? And they're going to give a big middle finger to the Supreme Court because that's what they do. And in these scathing dissents of like 3 different judges, they even say that. They say your minds are already made up, and our job as judges in the circuit court is not to be political. It is to follow precedent, what the Supreme Court tells us and what the law says. Even if you disagree with it politically, if it's constitutional, it's constitutional. If it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. And they're gonna throw this ruling out, okay? I already tell you that's what was going to happen. Now, they've extended this stay on the order for 10 days, so both the defendants and the plaintiffs can argue again why it should not be extended, well, depending on which side you're on, until they actually hear the case in full. I can already tell you they're going to extend it indefinitely until they hear the case. So they're going to rule for the state of California. They're going to say, okay, we're going to put the lower court's ruling on hold. A permanent injunction is in place until we can hear the case, and they're going to set the case out for whenever. And they're going to slow walk this because they know most likely the Supreme Court will slap them down in time. And that's the only saving grace in this. The only saving grace is that they're going to defy the Supreme Court, which means a magazine ban case might get elevated eventually to the Supreme Court. And then if they overturn it, it affects the whole country. See, right now, if they would just let Judge Benitez's ruling take effect, it only affects California, and that's it. Washington, Hawaii, all those other states that have magazine capacity limits aren't affected. It only affects California. Now, if the Ninth Circuit takes this up and they say it's a good ruling, which, by the way, they're not, it means all the states in the Ninth Circuit now will have to have their magazine capacity limits removed. But if the Supreme Court takes it up, it goes to the federal level. It means the whole country. That's the only saving grace about this. But for those of you that said, Jason, you don't know what you're talking about, their hands are tied, well, guess who was right and has 2 thumbs? This guy, right? Once again, just like the ATF pistol brace stuff, I was right? Nobody was arrested. There wasn't mass confiscations. They weren't going around killing people's dogs. They weren't going door to door. They weren't going to do anything with 922R compliance. Who was right? This guy. And who's right in this? This guy. I already know they're going to extend the order until they hear the case. They're going to put the cases out as far as they can. It's going to be an en banc thing. Their minds are already made up. They're not going to overturn they're not going to overturn the law. They're going to pretty much tell that judge, or say that Judge Benitez's ruling is wrong and that the magazine capacity limit can stay. And then at that point, it will have to be appealed to the Supreme Court. And what happens there, we have no idea. But that's it. I was right. I knew this was going to happen. It happened faster than I told you it was going to. And I also think that there was somebody in one of the comments of my previous video that said, this is why I hate channels like yours, because you're not a lawyer, and I'm going to go watch lawyers because they know what they're talking about. Did you know that in a lot of states, you don't have to have a law degree to practice law? All you have to do is pass the bar exam, right? Now listen, I'm not an attorney. I haven't taken the LSAT. I haven't done any of that. But I can read the law. I can understand the law. You can too. You know, it's not supposed to be an exclusionary thing. One of the principles of law is that they're supposed to be written in a manner that the average person can understand them, right? And you're allowed to participate in this process. Well, supposedly, right? Of course, we live in a post-constitutional republic. So those people that, number one, say I shouldn't have an opinion or I can't have an opinion because I'm not an attorney or a lawyer and they're going to go somewhere else, it's fine. I don't care. But guess who was right? This guy. Who was wrong? A lot of those attorneys. I'm telling you, if you go look at all the clickbait attorneys, they're like, when it came to this case, their hands are tied. They can't do anything. Well, what did they do? The thing I said they were going to do. They're going to extend the injunction, and they're going to overturn Judge Benitez's ruling. I was right, and this shows it because they wouldn't let it go to an en banc, break precedent. Because, by the way, it never does. They never do this. It's always supposed to go to a 3-judge panel. That is precedent. That is history. That's what it always does. And these judges do not want that to happen. So they broke their own rules and said, we're going to go ahead and elevate it immediately to en banc. And that means there's enough judges that want to hear this because they want to overturn it. That's what that means. I'm telling you, you guys can say their hands are tied. They're not tied. Okay? Because they can do whatever they want. They can thumb their nose at the Supreme Court. And even if the Supreme Court eventually overrules them, nothing's going to happen because they're lifetime appointments. They can only be impeached for improprieties. That's it. That's it. I guess the Constitution says in times of good behavior. So, but whatever that means, normally that means you break a law or whatever, But anyway, I was right. So there you go. I wanted to talk about that. I'm going to put a link in the description below to that 4 Boxes Diner video. Go over there, watch him, and hear those dissents, and you guys are going to get pissed just like I am. So anyway, I am celebrating that I was right because I'm right, and I am preaching the gospel to people to go, just listen to me and your life will be easy. But it's okay. It's okay. You all think you know better, right? You have those clickbaity lawyers and attorneys telling you, don't worry, their hands are tied. No, they're not. No, they're not. But this guy right here sitting in his garage, right? A musician, a music teacher, that's what I do for a living, predicts this over and over and over again. Why? Because I have common sense, and I can see that we live in a post-constitutional republic, and none of our history and precedent mean anything anymore. We are on the slippery slope to a civil war. Right? These courts, like the Ninth Circuit, luckily I live in Texas, not in California, because in my mind, the legitimacy of the Ninth Circuit is in question. Actually, I don't even look at the Ninth Circuit as a legitimate function of government. They haven't in a long time. They're a joke. That's why a lot of people call them the Ninth Circus, because it's a circus. That's all it is. But anyway, so if you're going to click away from this and say, Jason, you're an idiot because the Armed Scholar says, breaking news, their hands are tied, blah, 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 Supreme Court 6-3 decision. You guys are living a pipe dream. You're living a pipe dream. You're ignorant of the facts, and you don't want to see what is self-evident in front of you. But anyway, okay, a little passionate rambling tonight, okay? I fully admit it. I'm okay, no blood pressure. Just a little bit excited, All right, done with the politics for now, and done gloating because I was right. But I'm not gloating because I'm glad it happened. I'm just gloating because I was right. I tell everyone that I'm right. No one believes me, and then they got to learn the lesson the hard way. And if they would just listen from me from the beginning, life would be easy. But once again, I deal with this all the time with my students. I deal with this all the time with my kids and my family. I tell them what's going to happen, and they don't believe me. Then they have to come back, and we do the whole procedure of, I know everything. All right, now let's talk about some upcoming projects because Jack lent me 2 awesome Smith & Wessons. Man, these are pretty cool. And I think I'm going to go to the range with my friend Brandon this weekend because he really wants to try out one of these because this is a gun that he's been looking at for a long time. And when I told him I had it in for a review and that Jack had linked it to the channel, he's like, you got to tell me how that thing shoots. I said, well, why don't you come to the range and we're going to try it out together as long as I can film you shooting it and get your reactions and thoughts. And he said, sure. So the first gun we're going to be taking a look at, actually it's over here. It says Performance Center on the box. This is the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 M2.0 Performance Center. Yeah, take a look at that. It has the ported barrel, stainless steel barrel in it. Man, it also has the metal frame, I guess. I think it's what it's supposed to have. But yeah, this thing is pretty darn cool. And it's heavy, it's weighty, the Performance Center edition. I'm really excited to get to shoot this thing. So, yeah, the Performance Center M&P 9 M2.0. And the other one is another M&P 2.0. And this one, I guess, is one of their newer offerings. This one is the one in 22 Magnum. Now, I have reviewed their one in 5.7. But I haven't done the 22 Magnum yet. And these are kind of popular now, and I understand why people say that, Smith & Wesson has been copying Kel-Tec, because Kel-Tec has a really popular 22 Magnum pistol, and I think Taurus does. Is it Taurus? I reviewed another one recently, too. I'll have to go back and look. I reviewed so many guns. But anyway, this one is really cool. The Smith & Wesson M&P 22 Magnum, and it uses that gas delay system that's found on the 5.7, so it's not just direct blowback. So that's really interesting. So mechanically, this is a very cool and interesting pistol. So yeah, there we go. So thank you, Jack. 2 awesome firearms to get to review, and I'll be trying to get these to the range this weekend, and then hopefully film the range reports next week. And I still have to get a thumbnail made for my Henry Big Boy 44 Magnum review. I got the range report done. I just need the thumbnail and then to upload it and let my Patreon see it. So that's what I got to do next. And it is 9:40. So I've been talking for 17 minutes and 30 seconds right now. So I will let you go. Sorry this was a little bit impassioned tonight, but I'm not really impassioned. I know. I can actually act like I am. I'm really an introvert, and I don't have feelings, okay? I really don't. But I can act like I do, and but I gloated. I was right. So let's say it one more time together, okay? Here we go. Ready? I was right. I know everything, okay? I know some of you guys are still going to say, I don't know everything, even though everything I say is right. You know it in your heart, but you don't want to admit it. But that's okay. That's the journey we're all on, right? As one of my teaching mentors told me, it's not about what you say to your students. It's about when they're ready to hear it. And some of you are just not ready to hear it. I can tell you that I'm right. I can prove that I'm right on all these topics. But you're not ready to hear it, and you're not ready to accept it. But that's okay, because I'm going to keep telling it to you, and eventually you will accept it, because you're going to know in your heart it's time to move on and realize he was right from the beginning. So there you go. All right, so let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.